Well, Ron, it's great to have you on with us on Crew Conversations. I've been looking forward to having this chat with you behind the scenes to just get a little bit of a pop under the hood about you as a leader, as a person, and just give some folks some better background and understanding about yourself. Before we get into some quick Q&A, just give us a 60-second highlight reel of you and your career, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, most of it I stumbled into payments in 1999, so going back quite a ways, and now I've been in the payments industry for over 25 years. Good chunk of it at American Express, 5 years at MasterCard, a short stint at a startup with a buddy of mine, which was a blast for about a year and a half, and now I'm 6-7 months into a new role at a smaller payments company called ACI Worldwide. And throughout, I've just had the privilege of leading teams, small, mid-sized, large teams, and I've had a chance to really dig into leadership and employee development, and have always had a curiosity around the intersection of business and psychology. I think we'll cover some of that today. But just on Crew, it's really been an unexpectedly, really positive, enriching addition to what I thought was an already full life. But it's been terrific. The cohort, the members, you and your dad, and all that it does for us. I keep speaking to more and more people, and just seeing the benefits that we all get, or kind of similar one way or the other, and connecting in the ways that we do. And it's been terrific. So congrats from a business perspective, but also thank you from someone who's benefiting from it.
Man, that it means a lot to hear that from you. You were one of our early adopters. I always joke this was one of the hardest pitches I ever had to give early on. Right? Hey, join a networking community that had like 0 members or a handful of members, and so the gratitude goes both ways, my friend. And it's super inspiring to hear. To your point, that folks that have had really great careers, they're great phases of life and work, and seem to have honestly most of everything that you want going for them, still see that there's some value in this, and that was the hope. And so it means a lot. Thank you for that. So that on that career highlight, you kept us very high level there. Best stop so far. I mean, other than feeling compelled to say the one you're in right now, is there one that sticks out for you that just was like the most memorable stint in your career so far?
I think I've had an opportunity to build new things, and do so by surrounding myself with really fantastic teams. So I think, looking back and reflecting, it's always been about the people, the teams that I've been part of, teams I've been able to build and nurture. The content comes and goes, building new products, growing sales, acquiring companies. I've had such a great, diverse set of business experiences, but it's always going to come down to the teams. And I've been lucky, I think, lately in the last 5 or 7 years to have just some incredible people that I'm still friends with. I mean, that's what happens, is that it's, are we friends? Are we coworkers? Yes and yes. And we do great things. We care about each other. We care about the companies that we're in, the teams that we're part of, the products that we're building, the businesses that we're growing. So I've just been really lucky of late. I inherited a great team here at ACI Worldwide. And I've been really, really fortunate to have not only depth of experience and really good payments professionals, but great people at the same time. So yeah, I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what's the reason that you got into leadership in the first place? Do you remember, did you always know you wanted to be in leadership, or was there a pivotal moment? What's the kind of the why for that journey?
Yeah, I think I naturally evolved into it very early in my career. I was in public accounting, and then I was in management consulting. And there's a clear hierarchy there. As you move up, you manage a small team and then a larger team. And I found managing and leading and developing people just really fulfilling and personally enriching. And I just got so much out of it myself, just seeing people develop. And I'm one of those people who I hope I work for you one day, when someone's on my team and reporting to me, and just getting to share knowledge, experience, skills. Now that I'm, been in business for over 30 years, it's hard to say. But I get to share it with others. I'm also there's this nice crossover. I'm working from home as we speak. I'm a very dedicated father of three daughters, and I'm helping grow and develop them. A little bit different, but I always see it as a work family too. So I probably get overly committed, dedicated, loyal to my teams at work, and certainly to my family at home. So it just happened naturally, but I really kind of fell in love with the notion of leading teams and yeah, delivering work through others. And of course, there's the business side of it, but the personal side of leading and developing people just hit me so positively from the jump and hasn't stopped.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. I mean, when I hear you say stuff like, you hope that the people that work for you, you can work for someday, that tells you the heart of the kind of leader you are, right? Because that really is like truly living vicariously through their success and their fulfillment. I don't know that if you're truly planted in that and measuring yourself as a leadership on a leadership scale, that's really a really cool thing, right? If anyone has had that privilege to work for someone like that, it's special. What do you think's when you think about like philosophy, right? Leadership philosophy, style, principles, what's some things that are always on the top of your mind? You've been in different, like you said, you've had crossover, different jobs, different, size companies, different industries even, but there's some pillars that probably are transferable to all from a leadership perspective. What's the things that kind of are most important to you? Anything stick out?
Yeah, I mean, there's some things I'm really conscious of and think about, and I've moved from one role to another over the last few years, so I've got to refresh my thinking and my philosophy, and I'm quite open and transparent. I share it with my teams, and the reason is, and we just hit the landscaping lottery, so we're going to have some leaf blowing noise in the background. But I really believe that empowering employees drives employee engagement, and engaged employees take care of your customers. When they take care of your customers take care of your bottom line. So I've always had a focus on employee engagement. I've always been a student of leadership as well, and particularly the intersection of psychology and business. So authors like Malcolm Gladwell, Adam Grant, Daniel Pink's another, and I picked up one of his books called Drive, and he has a very well-watched TED Talk on autonomy, mastery, and purpose. And I share that with all my teams. I just did it at ACI a couple months ago, and it's about motivation, and that these three elements, autonomy, mastery, and purpose, deliver motivated employees. And autonomy is about people wanting to be self-directed, not managed. And I think about it, they want to be led, not managed and told what to do. And when you have that kind of freedom, I think about it as empowerment. And I have another philosophy I'll share later, which is idea meritocracy, and we'll get to it. But I always believe the best idea wins, and I want people to know that, and they should be thinking that way as they approach the workplace. So the first one is autonomy, and people will feel the difference, I think, when I'm leading a team in that way. The second one is mastery, and that's people have this desire to get better at what they do, to improve their craft. I mentioned I fell into a great team of payments professionals here at ACI, and they've invested in what they do, and they have this innate desire to get better at what they do, whether it's in product or operations or sales. But these are real pros, and it's not by accident. They've invested in it. So that's the second thing, is on mastery, is that people have this desire when you're in the right role to just keep getting better at what you do. The third one's really important. So it's autonomy, mastery, and the last one's purpose. And it's that people have this desire to be part of something bigger, to know that they're helping people, they're helping the organization. I'm not just doing my one job, I'm doing it for a much bigger reason. And those three things combined, I think, creates this engaged, motivated workforce, a higher performing team, a happier team. And that's, what I follow, what I share, what I absolutely believe in. I've been at it. I think I stumbled upon Daniel Pink when I led a large sales force, probably somewhere in the 12 to 14 years ago. So I've been following it for quite a while, and I think it stayed current. We've been through a lot of twists and turns as employees and how we work and where we work, but it's stuck and been effective.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I love those three pillars. And yeah, to your point, at this point, if you think about even the last couple of years of adversity or disruption or however we want to coin it, right? The languishing phase, according to Adam Grant, that people have had to kind of endure. I mean, honestly, those three pillars feel as more valid today than maybe they even were 5 or 10 years ago. I mean, the whole autonomy thing, right? With the work, with the freedom of where we're working, how we're working, and growth. We hear more and more about how much people just right growth means something. And honestly, the purpose piece, I love that you hit that. It's so many people are doing things just as a job or as a pit stop on way to bigger career things. And how do you bring more meaning and fulfillment? How do you do that? And in a group dynamic, when you nail that, it's such a cool spot. When you think about,
I think,
go ahead.
I was just going to add, I mean, to your point, especially working from home or being in this hybrid form of working, it's probably easy to forget, like, what am I part of? What am I doing?
Yes.
And I think just in retaining employees, we had this war on talent about a year or two ago, and think about people working from home. And I switched jobs and it's kind of just swap out to the computer, right? And the logo changes on the home screen, and I'm sitting in the same chair. So where does the loyalty come from? And I think that's feeling like you're part of something bigger. And I need my teammates, and we're all doing this together. So I think you're right. It probably means even more than it used to when we were primarily office based, surrounded by your team with things on the walls that represent what we're trying to do as a company, what we're trying to do as a business unit. So yeah, probably need to dial it up even more.
Yeah. Yeah. We all stayed in jobs longer, right? There was just more stability and consistency, generally speaking, across the board than what we've all kind of become accustomed to recently. When you think about that phase that you're now in, right, in the fast evolution of where business and life is kind of at right now, when you think about being inspiring and motivating, I've heard you use those words. It's important to you, right? The intersection of psychology and leadership, and it totally resonates with me personally. What are the things that you try and do to be as motivating as you can be and as inspiring as you can be? Obviously, the three pillars you just mentioned is a part of that, right? It's a foundation for that. Anything else that people would say maybe about you that you do or lean on or demonstrate?
I'd love for them to speak for themselves.
Yeah.
But I do hope that people, on my teams, feel my dedication to them. I think servant leadership has come up before. Leading by example, doing your job as a leader and removing obstacles and freeing people up. I think so. I'll give you three other. I mentioned one before. So I'm working in threes today with you, Adam. But so three other things that play into my expectations of teams that I'm leading or teams I'm part of. First, I mentioned was idea meritocracy. So levels don't matter. Every seat at the table is the same, and you should feel like it's the power of your idea and not your position that really matters. So I think that should uplift teams, and again, it doesn't matter at all what your title is, what your function is. We're looking for the best ideas and best position, and everyone should be contributing.
Love it.
The second thing is about risk taking, and I think that people at times get cautious, and they're afraid to fail, and that's something that I will challenge day in, day out. Risk taking is expected. Failure will happen. What is not acceptable is not learning from failure. So you have to learn from your mistakes, but don't stop taking those risks. So I expect us to have a thoughtful risk-taking culture on our teams. And the last one is having fun. We spend a lot of time at work. I use that expression, work family, before. So I would say, like, if you're not having fun throughout the day, if you don't laugh once in each meeting, like, you're in the wrong place. Like, don't take this thing too seriously. We're all in it together. It's a big chunk of our lives. There's no reason you can't have a little bit of fun while you're doing it. And again, it brings you back to engagement, culture, empowerment. I want to have fun because I just like it. I'm a payments geek and I love what I'm doing work wise, but I want to enjoy it while we're going through it together. But I know in the end, we're also going to get better results because people
Yeah.
are going to be happier. People are going to be better connected. People are going to work more closely together, right? It's all team based. There's matrices everywhere in how we're organized. And you engage better with clients that way and customers and partners. So it's not all about just goofing off and having fun and telling jokes, but I actually think selfishly it helps with engagement, which then it helps deliver results as well.
Oh, totally. Do you have any open positions right now?
Mhm.
I'm not asking for myself. I'm just
Yeah.
saying because I think the way you're speaking about leadership right now, if we broadcast that out broadly, I think you'd have a lot of people intrigued about working for you. And honestly, you speak really well on it, right? And I've talked to a lot of leaders that have a lot of great credentials and background, but there's an art to being able to actually package like philosophy and style. And so kudos to you, man. Because as I'm listening, I'm
Thanks,
going,
man.
hey, I'd love to work for this guy. I'd love to work in that kind of environment. You're hitting all the hot buttons that matter to me when I think about my, days in selling and leadership and all of that. So anyhow, if there is an open role, right, at some point, but I'm sure your team right now really appreciates it at the minimum.
Yeah, I hope so. But we're always looking for top talent because we're
Yeah,
investing and growing.
sure. So let's talk about one thing that I know you said, you and I have talked back channel about this and you're passionate about this as well, which is hard, right? I mean, everyone's overbooked, they're over busy, they're overworked. This ability to prioritize, to focus, again, back to the intersection psychology and everything. I mean, if you can't clear through the clutter and figure out like, what am I spending my precious time and energy on so that I feel like I'm calmly and clear headed, able to be focused. What's the methodology that you use? Because I do think that's one of the biggest obstacles all companies, all leaders everywhere face these days for their teams.
Yeah, I know. I think it's an ongoing and growing problem that I've
Yep.
seen, and I think the word that we misuse is prioritize,
Yep.
because a leader will tell you or ask you, "Can you prioritize this?" And what they mean is, "Can you do this?" or "Will you do this? Please do this."
Yeah.
What if we really want to prioritize? That means we're doing one thing over another, right? And we're assessing relative performance. Um, and I think we have to understand that there is a fixed capacity of us as humans, as workers. And I think we do a much better job of that, at least in companies I've been part of, when it comes to development and engineering groups and scrum teams. And we know what their capacity is, whether it's story points or some other measurement system. We know how much we can do in each sprint. But those of us in product and marketing and sales and strategy, we struggle to figure out how big that container is. So one of the tools that I use in prioritization is not high, medium, and low, but high, medium, and no. No, we cannot do this list. We draw the line. We know what's important and valuable, and those are our high priorities. And then our medium priorities are either important or valuable or some mix thereof. And then on a relative basis, there are things that fall below the line. Are they important? Yes. Are they valuable? Yes. Are they urgent? Yes, but not as much as the others. And I think no is we're just afraid of it. So going back when I started and a leader said to me, "Will you prioritize this?" And I'm going to say, "I cannot do that. No, right? I will not prioritize that over something else." Be like, "I'm sorry, did you not hear me? I asked you to
Yeah.
prioritize this." Right. I said, "Well, then I need to take something else off the list." And that's I think just a mature discussion that you have to have, is something has to move below the line, and that forces you to make the right trade-off decision. The real prioritization, right, is what's more important on a relative basis. And I think it's a real problem. You're right. Many of us are overworked. We don't have enough capacity. We have more demand than we do supply of human resource. Companies, we've now gone through, I don't know, 6 or 9 months of layoffs across large American companies. What I don't see very often are changes in earnings targets, sales growth targets. So this lousy expression of do more with less. Don't like that one. I like getting smarter, and I love finding ways of being more efficient. But we have to say no sometimes, and that forces you to really assess the value. So if I say no to you, I'm not going to do that. I have room for 10 projects. You rank 11th. Come back and tell me why you're more important then. Because I just also just respect, people, work-life balance, if you do 15 things, with 80% effort, I'd rather do 10 things with 100% effort.
Yeah.
So yeah, long way to get around. Prioritization is really tough to do it right. I like this high, medium, and no framework, just to be really clear. Like, you're
Yep.
saying no to me, you can't squeeze me in. I cannot do that. So,
Yeah.
sometimes we have to have those tough discussions.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's awesome. I think you're right. The best leaders I feel like I meet are really good at managing their time. Like, they have figured that out in order to become effective, get bigger and bigger responsibility, remits, jobs, whatever. They have had to nail this, right? And you're kind of not really taught about it in the kind of coming up phases. I don't feel too well in your career. And it's hard to know when to say no, especially if it's people that are above you that are asking this. The reality is they're human beings. They're getting sucked into the overworked, right? Too large of a to-do list too. And sometimes they actually really respect your positioning on how that shouldn't be the priority. And it helps them even think about how to position that upwards. So anyhow, I think it's very well-intended advice that isn't, to your point, in the essence of the word there, prioritized enough for people and how much it does for them on a benefit standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, and it comes through when you talk about how busy we are and calendars, right? I mean, I feel like this little pop-up window that shows up on my monitor that says the next meeting is starting is like my real boss. Like, that's how my day is run, right? By my Outlook calendar. And it's somewhere else, high, medium, and no. You have to say no to meetings. You got to decline things to create the right kind of space. And that's hard. And look, little things like, do we really need an hour? I set my calendar defaults to 50 minutes and 25 minutes. Even carving out 5 or 10 minutes versus, because we end up filling it. When you set up, we're in a very meeting intensive environment in many mid-sized and large companies. And I don't know about the rest of you, but when a meeting is canceled at the last minute, for whatever reason, I get like a half an hour space.
I know.
It's like a gift. It's like a gift from above.
Yeah.
To catch up, to think, to stand up, to walk, whatever it may be. But you realize how valuable that is, and it's like, well, you got to create that for yourself sometimes, not just hope and pray that someone cancels a meeting during your day of 14 back-to-back meetings. So it plays in there too. It's hard to say no. I don't have time for you. I mean, that's not my way, but I have to do it to be effective.
Yeah. No, it is so funny. We should never feel that bad about the once in a while cancellation or delay, because to your point, I feel like everyone on the other side is normally okay, unless it's just like the most important meeting they were looking for this week with you. But normally it's a breath of fresh air. So I know you forgot. I mean, we've all made mistakes, right? We've all had setbacks, failures, however we want to label this. Anything that, really sticks out for you as a mistake or a failure or something that you really had to learn a lot from?
There was definitely one, and it wasn't that long ago, and I've talked about it many times. And when I mentioned earlier about you have to take risks, failing's okay. It's expected. You have to learn from it. So I'll talk about it all the time, in some ways just to model that behavior, but also just to share the learning. And it started, it was about 5 years ago, and I joined a new company to build a new product and build a new business. I was an entrepreneur. It was very exciting. I just left entrepreneurism. I co-founded my own company. We sold that one, and then I joined a very large company, and I viewed it as a 100% funded startup within the large company. So I was all excited. We built a team. We're building a product, and we're being nimble because we're at a startup, and we can perform other people's roles, and we can do everything. We're a small but mighty team. And we trudged ahead, and we built the product, and we launched the product. And when it hit me that the big mistake was thinking we could do it on our own. We were part of a large, talented, powerful company, and we didn't use all the resources sitting right around us. We had this pride, entrepreneurial spirit and way about ourselves, when just down the hallway and across the street were so many people that could help us. And we would have moved faster, and scaled sooner, and had more success, had we, I think, been a little more humble, about, what our role really is, that we don't have to do everything. And that's not the most effective way, but engage all these people around you, because they want you to succeed too, because you are part of a bigger company. You're not an independent startup. So that was a big learning, and just, pick your head up, and, don't be the hero all the time. And, you really, you want to get the job done, and deliver for the company and for your team. And, it's okay to ask for help. In fact, it's your responsibility to do it. So that one has stuck with me. It was good, 5 or 6 years ago. It feels fresh still. Big learning. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a good one. That's a good one. And what about on the flip side here of, you've worked for some probably pretty good leaders over the years. And is there any leadership lessons that really stuck with you of someone else? Right. So you mentioned, obviously, the thought leader, Daniel Pink, and, but like from actually working with someone, is there some advice that you feel was some of the best advice you were given?
Yeah, I mean, I've been really, really fortunate to work for some talented leaders, and I think everyone should pay attention. You're going to learn, lots of best practices and some things you probably don't like so much. So those are good too, to do unto others, if you would. But yeah, I mean, most recently, I've worked for, some really, really talented, leaders. I think, the way that I've seen some of them engage such a variety of audiences, making people think they are the most important person, the most important partner, the most important prospect, in the room, and just in engaging them, and finding a solution, delivering, what the company can do, whether it's American Express or MasterCard or ACI, or when I was a co-founder at the little old Bill Bridge. But just representing, the company and your team and yourself in such an engaging way, doing that, while you're customer facing and market facing, and then turn around and do it, employee facing. I had a career discussion just a couple of years ago. Here I am 30 years into my career, and this is a mid-year talent discussion. And this leader, who is one of the most senior people in the country, put so much time into my development plan and my career. I was blown away. The one-on-one attention and care that such a senior leader put on me, and came around to the side of the table when we discussed it. And I was like, yeah, I forgot about that technique. Don't sit across from them, because this isn't, it's not an adversary. You're on my team, aren't you? So it was, here, look at my screen. Let's do this together. And all these little tips. And man, did I feel like so valued, with all the effort that this person put into me, and my career, and just seeing the variety. And then this person would jump in front of a group of 10,000 people, and be a dynamic, engaging public speaker. So, being really aware of your audience, the impact you can have on people, every day, in different sessions, that really stuck. And that was a recent one. But boy, I've had just some fantastic leaders, that I'm still in touch with, at the companies I've worked. And yeah, I've certainly been actively taking notes all the way through, in problem solving, in culture forming, in how to pursue opportunities, and how to close, and how to solve problems, and how to bring people in. I've been super lucky in that way.
Yeah. That's pretty impressive that at that phase of career, you were having that kind of a mid-year development discussion, right? Because a lot of those they're either painful, right? Or they're just formalities. And so to hear that actually happens, in the right leadership rooms, which is what they're supposed to be for, is pretty cool. That feels like that was a cool moment. And a couple of the nuanced examples you're sharing is, that's neat. And it's a great reminder, to your point, of just small impact, big impact, but every conversation with every person has a potential to be impactful. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I had the opposite, and where, another very, very senior leader, great leader, sat down with me and it's like, Ron, you're leading a couple hundred people. You're doing these all day. I'm sure you know the drill. Keep up the good work. If you need
Yeah.
help, call me. Right.
Yeah.
It was genuine. And I was like, okay, thanks. Let's get on with our busy days. But it's a little bit like crew, right? And we talked earlier about how important this forum, this network is to some of us. We're still employees and we're still people. And we still need advice and we still need counsel and we need a cohort of people who understand us. So whether it's a leader, a peer, a friend, who pays attention to you in that way, it's meaningful. I mean, you can be on a bit of an island sometimes, as a leader of a large team, and you need, either a peer group or a leader who still understands that even though you've been in business for 30 years and you're a leader yourself, that you need some care and attention too. And a lot of us are still developing, right? I mean, I certainly haven't given up learning and developing and improving. I want to work on that, for many, many, many years to come. As long as I'm working and past then. So to have someone understand that and join you on that journey is a difference maker.
Yeah. You're right. It's senior leaders are people. Mastery is not something that the mastery pillar, right? It's equally as fitting in the senior. In fact, they stop giving it a lot of times to the senior folks, right? You think everyone just knows it all, or they're done, or they've arrived, and they're still craving it, right? There's a lot of intellectually curious senior leaders that still love the growth part and the purpose piece. But unfortunately, we don't all wake up feeling meaning and purpose every single day. If you're the guy that's supposed to be giving that juice to everyone in your remit, it's nice when other people are giving you some, right? And helping you feel more purpose and more meaning and remembering and getting recentered on why you do what you do. I agree with you. I don't think we do enough for the senior leaders that have such a big impact, because every single conversation, like you just said, means so much. So we should invest so much more in every single senior leader so that they've got all the juice, all the resources at their disposal that we know trickles down to everyone else that connects with them. That's really powerful to hear from you. I'm thinking here of just advice. You've talked about advice you were being given, great leadership wisdom that you've had the privilege for. If you were giving advice to your younger self again now, any career advice, any general wisdom or leadership advice that you would give to folks that are up and coming in their careers that maybe you didn't do, but now you would definitely say, hey, do as I say, not as I did.
Yeah, I mean, I've been lucky to counsel a good number of people on their careers and people looking for advice, want to move up, want to move over. One thing I always remind people of is the best thing you can do in your career if you want to move up and take on more responsibility is just crush whatever you're doing now. Be awesome at your current job, because it's a great platform, right, from which to grow. What stories can you tell from what you're doing today that'll allow you to get to that next place? Because when I interview people, when others interview, I'm trying to picture you, in this next role, right? Maybe it's a promotion, maybe it's a different part of the company that you want to move to. I'm interviewing you, trying to picture you doing that job today. And if I hear you talking about your current role and how you're delivering fantastic results, how you're really energized and you're improving the work of others around you and raising the game of the company in your current function, that's the kind of person I want on my team. So I really don't look past what you're doing now. Is really important. Have that energy, continue to invest in your craft and the mastery part, right? Of motivation, believe in the bigger purpose, and dedicate yourself to it. And I think that creates opportunities because you just have such a richer, more energizing platform from which to speak. And in that regard, I also talk to people about those, I mentioned, stories to tell. And you're working on your resume and you're working on your career. Think about what are those new stories, those new achievements that I'll be able to use at my next role, during my next interview. What's that story that you're building? And think about which project you take on, which next job you take, and how does it help improve that roster, that library of stories I have. And the third thing is feedback. As 20 years ago or something, feedback is a gift, someone told me, and I
Yeah.
laughed. Right. And I
Yeah.
was like, I didn't want to, I was like, I don't want to receive feedback. Just please tell me everything's okay. And I'm going to leave the room. But I really believe it. We don't have prior to hybrid work and Zoom meetings, we don't have a camera on us rolling all the time, right?
Yeah.
Observing how we're working and what we're doing and what impact we're having on people. And if someone gives you feedback in the right way, it's based on their observations. Here's what I observed, and this is the impact it had on me, and this is potentially a way you can improve. And they really are gifts, because not everyone does it. I think people shy away from it. So the ones that have the courage and care enough about you to give you feedback, you have to embrace it. And if some defense comes up on you, you've got to suppress that and just soak all it in, digest, write it down in case you forget about it because you have other emotions going. But those things are really going to help you down the road. Because give yourself at least the choice to accept it, embrace it, and do something about it. But I think ask for feedback, absolutely embrace it when you get it, and reflect on it. It's really hard to observe yourself while you're in action. So allow others to do it for you, and should help you along the way.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's such good. Those are three. You are a guy of threes. You're like, which is my style too. But yeah, every time you're given great three structured pillars, we could create a lot of good 3 bullet slides off of this one crew conversation. But super, hey, if I'm sitting there at 25, 30, 35 years old, I'm still looking at the majority of my career. Man, those are such great pillars to be thinking through. Easier said than done, to your point, at certain phases of career. But every one of us, I think, once we hit certain points, we would all agree on those. So the sooner you get into having those in focus, the better off you're going to be. Ron, this has been great, man. I'm going to be cognizant of your time because I know that it's invaluable to you, and I just appreciate your membership in the community, your engagement, and the openness, right, that you're again demonstrating here of who you are as a leader, and that's kind of just what this is all about. So this has been fun from my standpoint. I could chat leadership with you all day long. We'll do it over a cocktail again soon, I'm sure, but. Really, thanks for your time, man, and appreciate your insight and wisdom.
Thanks, Adam. Appreciate you guiding us through it, and hopefully get to see you soon.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Crew Conversations. These conversations are for leaders, between leaders, and by leaders to inspire you to grow into the type of leader you want to become.